Hi, guys, and welcome to episode 5 of Reading South African Celebrity Birth Charts without any pre context. So, in today's episode, we're going to do Boity's birth chart and see what's going on in her life. Let's go. So, Uboitumelo Tulo was born on the 28th of April 1990, making her a 7 degrees Taurus sun sign. We don't know what time she's born, which is so apparent with all, if not most, South African celebrities. But regardless, she would be a Gemini moon, right? She would only be a Cancer moon if she's born towards midnight. But something tells me she's not. So I'm just going to say she's a Gemini moon. She's a Taurus sun, Gemini moon. And because we don't know what time she's born, we don't know her rising sign. Now, with that Gemini moon, she has her moon squaring Venus. Now, what do squares mean in astrology? Basically, like, in life, we all have specific things that it's easy to do, but specific things that we find more difficult to do or more difficult to comprehend, that energy, that difficulty, that friction in astrology, we call those squares, right? Now, in your personal chart, if you have specific planets squaring each other, it means that those specific vibes or energies have a hard time getting along. Now, with Boity, it's with her moon and her Venus. Your moon is all about what you feel comfortable with, things that you feel familiar with, things that you are emotionally connected to, and how you emotionally connect with things. And all of that for Boity is in Gemini, right? So she's emotionally connected to her siblings, probably her environment. She's really intelligent, she most Gemini moons, I'm a Gemini moon myself, we intellectualize our emotions, but how we emotionally connect with people is through words, just communication, wordplay, just cerebral shit. And all of that is squaring her Venus in Pisces. So Venus is all about what we love and appreciate, how we show love and appreciation to people, and how we receive love and appreciation from other people, our love language, and what we find aesthetically pleasing in ourselves, in things, and in people. Now, I've seen in my own life that people with moon square Venus usually have issues with their moms, feeling like their moms either didn't value them the way that they would have appreciated, or they just didn't emotionally nurture them in a way that they would feel fulfilled. And then that becomes a problem. So with that relationship with her mom, it also trickles down into her own interpersonal relationships where she'll date somebody who can fulfill all her emotional needs. So she'll date somebody who's lighthearted, who can communicate, who's funny, who's kind of like childlike, not childlike, but like fun and funny and like, kind of lighthearted. But then she'll feel like that relationship is lacking what she would appreciate. So she might even date somebody who will fulfill her emotional needs, but they may not be somebody who's her type or somebody that she finds physically attractive to her, because Venus is all about what we deem as attractive. Or on the other hand, she might date somebody who is physically attractive and who has like money and resources and the things that she wants, things that she appreciates, but she'll find that relationship doesn't fulfill her emotions. She feel like there's a lack of emotional connection. So it's always that little friction that happens with people who have their moon squaring Venus way. You feel like the relationships that you get into, and this may even just be for things that you have, like you may really buy something that you like. Also, this would be like an aspect for people who spend recklessly. So like you'll buy something that you appreciate, but then eventually you kind of just feel like, I don't really care about this, and then you discard it, Or sometimes you'll buy something or you'll be given something that was of sentimental value, but then to you you'll think it's ugly, or like for example, your mom or your dad buys you like a scarf that's completely ugly, but it's of sentimental value, but you'll think, oh my god, I hate this is the ugliest thing. So that's the little. And she probably goes through that in her own relationships where she goes. So people with this kind of aspect would probably look into getting into like polygamous relationships. In guys, these are the guys that cheat because they'll feel like, okay, well, I can get what I need and what I desire from different people, So I think with Boity, it could be the same thing, where she feels like, let me just date 2 or multiple different people so I can just have all of my needs and my desires fulfilled. But also, speaking of her Venus is making a very tight sextile to her Saturn. Saturn is all about how we maintain our resources, our money, and how we stabilize our lives long term, aka how do you get money long term and how do you create stability for yourself long term. So people who have like a good aspect with Venus and Saturn, these are people that I find that are really good with handling money. Like they can be responsible as much as they can be reckless, but it's like that energy of, yeah, as no, I know like as much as I can spend it, I can get it back, but I can also budget, So she's really responsible with money. I've seen that with people who have their Venus sextile or trine Saturn. And then lastly, she has her Mercury opposing Pluto at the exact degree, 16 degrees. And both planets are retrograding. That's what the R means. R in your birth chart means retrograde. So Boity was born during a Mercury retrograde and a Uranus retrograde and a Neptune retrograde and a Pluto retrograde. But let's just speak about her Mercury retrograde. I noticed people born on a Mercury retrograde usually have like communication issues where they're like, actually first they can communicate, and these are very these are like effective communicators because they listen. People born in a Mercury retrograde are really good listeners, and they're good listeners because a lot of the times in their lives they found that when they spoke too soon they were proven wrong. So they first have to listen, really dissect their information that they're receiving from people, and then respond after fully digesting what has been told. And it's even more amplified because she has a Mercury in Taurus, which is also why she has a really nice voice. People born with any Taurus placements, couped with Pisces placement, is going to make you have a nice voice. Also, Cancer placements, that makes you have a delicious, smooth, rusty, like raspy, or just really like velvety kind of voice, But with the opposition, because she has her Mercury opposed Pluto at 16 degrees, oppositions are tricky because a lot of the times you don't really identify with the planet opposing, especially immediate like planets like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Because we usually identify with those. So if any of those planets are opposing these planets down here, we usually don't really know when we are acting in these ways because we fully identify with these planets. So a lot of the times in Boity's case, when she communicates, she may not know that sometimes she's kind of like she has this undertone of being sarcastic or being sly or being kind of mean or probing, or like sometimes when you speak to Boity, you'll get the feeling that she's looking for like she's reading in between the lines of what you're saying. But to her, she may not actually be doing that. But to you, like you speaking to her, you receiving her communication, you may feel like, wait a minute, like when she was analyzing me, was she like looking into my soul, or was she like, did she think I had ulterior motives kind of thing? Like, so when she speaks, it'll kind of be like you'll sense that she senses from you that you have ulterior motives, even though to her it may just be like a simple conversation. Or sometimes she may be in that role where she thinks that when other people are speaking to her, they're looking at her like she has an ulterior motive, or she has like a mask that she's putting on, so it's always that tricky situation with opposition. And then one more, okay, so she has Jupiter in Cancer, which is an exaltation. Anyone who has a Jupiter in Cancer, consider yourself lucky, because I know people with this aspect usually have a big family and they have a lot of family support, or their mom is just very, very wise about emotion. But this is opposing Uranus and Capricorn. So we know Uranus is all about sudden changes, sudden movements, things that happen all of a sudden. So I think because, Cancer representing family and home, I think in her case, she's probably had to suddenly move around, or she had to suddenly move because her parents got work at another location, And that's that, guys. So if you guys are interested in getting a birth chart reading from me, hit me up on my Instagram or DM me on my Instagram, and we'll book a date and a time for your reading. Happy belated birthday, Boity. Love you so much. And I'll see you guys in my next video.